Bhakti Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Bhakti Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jai Bhakti Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Bhakti Jana Vallabha His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Jai. ISKCON DVD Acharya Srila Prabhupada Jai. Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Acharya Ashtotra Shri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnava Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Jai. Kvantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakti Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Brahma. Narayana Namaskritya Nadam Chaya Vinodoktamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayantiriye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the Supremest Human Being, unto Mother Saraswati, the Goddess of Learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashtaprayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavat Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. A regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam by rendering devotional service to the pure devotee. All that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed almost to nil, and loving devotion to the Supreme Lord who is glorified in transcendental songs is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On the 17th day of October, 2018, in Phoenix, Arizona, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We are on Canto 3, the status quo, Chapter 26, Fundamental Principles of Material Nature, text number 5. Guna Vichitra Sutatim Sarupa Prakatim Praja Vilokyamahe Sadhya Sahiha Jnana Bhuhaya Guna Vichitra Sutatim Sarupa Prakatim Praja Vilokyamahe Sadhya Saiha Jnana Guhaya Gunavachitra Sujatim Sarupa Prakatim Praja Vilokya Mamahe Sabya Saiha Jnana Guhaya. Go ahead, he's still finding it. Go ahead, he's still finding it. You got it? Okay. Sorry. Go ahead. No, it's text number 5. 326.5. Gunavachitra Sujatim
Sarupa Prakatim Para
Sarupa Prakatim Praja
Vilokya Mumuhe Satya
Vilokya Mamahe Sabya Jnana Guhaya Divya Shama
Gunavachitra Sujati
Gunavachitra Sujatim
Praja
Sarupa Prakatim Praja
Sada
Mamahe Sabya
Saya
Saiha Jnana Guhaya Gunavachitra Sujatim Sarupa Prakatim Praja Vilokya Mamahe Sabya Saiha Jnana Guhaya Gunavachitra Sujatim Sarupa Prakatim Praja Vilokya Mamahe Sabya Saiha Jnana Guhaya. Maraji? Gunavachitra Sujatim Sarupa Prakatim Praja Vilokya Mamahe Sabya Saiha Jnana Guhaya. Gunai by the threefold modes. Vichitraha, variegated. Sujatim, creating. Sarupaha, with forms. Prakatim, material nature. Prajaha, living entities. Vilokya, having seen. Mumuhe, was illusioned. Sadhyaha, at once. Saha, the living entity. Iha, in this world. Jnana Guhaya, by the knowledge covering feature. Translation. Divided into varieties by her threefold modes, material nature creates the forms of the living entities. And the living entities, seeing this, are illusioned by the knowledge covering feature of the illusory energy. Purport. Material energy has the power to cover knowledge, but this covering cannot be applied to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is applicable only to the praja, or those who are born with material bodies, the conditioned souls. The different kinds of living entities vary according to the modes of material nature, as explained in the Bhagavad Gita and other Vedic literature. In the Bhagavad Gita 7.12, it is very nicely explained that although the modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance are born of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is not subject to them. In other words, the energy emanating from the Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot act on him. It acts on the conditioned souls who are covered by the material energy. The Lord is the Father of all living entities because he impregnates material energy with the conditioned souls. Therefore, the conditioned souls get bodies created by the material energies, whereas the Father of the living entities is aloof from the three modes. It is stated in the previous verse that the material energy was accepted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in order that he might exhibit pastimes for the living entities who wanted to enjoy and lord it over the material energy. This world was created through the material energy of the Lord for the so-called enjoyment of such living entities. Why this material world was created for the sufferings of the conditioned souls is a very intricate question. There is a hint in the previous verse in the word lilaya, which means for the pastimes of the Lord. The Lord wants to rectify the enjoying temperament of the conditioned souls. It is stated in the Bhagavad Gita that no one is the enjoyer but the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This material energy is created, therefore, for anyone who pretends to enjoy. An example can be cited here that there is no necessity for the government's creation of a separate police department, but because it is a fact that some of the citizens will not accept the state laws, a department to deal with criminals is necessary. There is no necessity, but at the same time there is a necessity. Similarly, there was no necessity to create this material world for the sufferings of the conditioned souls. But at the same time, there are certain living entities known as Nitya-Baddha, who are eternally conditioned. We say that they have been conditioned from time immemorial because no one can trace out when the living entity, the part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, became rebellious against the supremacy of the Lord. It is a fact that there are two classes of men: those who are obedient to the laws of the Supreme Lord, and those who are atheists or agnostics, who do not accept the existence of God and who want to create their own laws. They want to establish that everyone can create his own laws or his own religious path. Without tracing out the beginning of the existence of these two classes, we can take it for granted that some of the living entities revolted against the laws of the Lord. Such entities are called conditioned souls, for they are conditioned by the three modes of material nature. Therefore, the words guna vichitra are used here. In this material world, there are 8,400,000 species of life. As spirit souls, they are all transcendental to this material world. Why then do they exhibit themselves in different stages of life? The answer is given here. They are under the spell of the three modes of material nature. Because they were created by the material energy, their bodies are made of the material elements. Covered by the material body, the spiritual identity is lost, and therefore the word mumuhe is used here, indicating that they have forgotten their own spiritual identity. This forgetfulness of spiritual identity is present in the jivas, or souls, who are conditioned, being subject to be covered by the energy of material nature. Jnana guhaya is another word used. Guha means covering. Because the knowledge of the minute conditioned souls is covered, they are exhibited in so many species of life. It is said in Srimad Bhagavatam 7th chapter, 1st canto. Okay. The living entities are illusioned by the material energy. In the Vedas also, it is stated that the eternal living entities are covered by different modes and that they are called tricolored, red, white, and blue living entities. Red is the representation of the mode of passion, white is the representation of the mode of goodness, and blue is the representation of the mode of ignorance. These modes of material nature belong to the material energy, and therefore the living entities under these different modes of material nature have different kinds of material bodies. Because they are forgetful of their spiritual identities, they think the material bodies to be themselves. To the conditioned soul, me means the material body. This is called moha, or bewilderment. It is repeatedly said in the Katha Upanishad that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is never affected by the influence of material nature. It is rather the conditioned souls or the minute infinitesimal parts and parcels of the Supreme who are affected by the influence of material nature and who appear in different bodies under the material modes. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanam Jana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Srila Parampara. So Lord Kabila Dev continued to explain the development of the material energy. And material energy doesn't develop in a vacuum, so to speak. It's there for the living entities who are conditioned, who are rebellious against the Lord. And so part of the creation of material energy involves these three modes of nature. And to varying degrees, they cover the original knowledge of the living entity. And they identify with the material bodies that they're given according to their previous karma. Whatever body we inhabit, that's who we think we are. And this illusion continues throughout life of every living being, no matter what situation he's in. Unless he's in the human form of life and he comes in contact with the Lord's representative who can give knowledge and the means of realizing that knowledge. And we gradually come out of the dream or illusion, bewilderment, that we're this material body and we're part and parcel of this material world. So there's a couple of verses Srila Prabhupada refers to here. One is Bhagavad Gita 7:12. All these states of being, goodness, passion, and ignorance, are manifested by my energy. I am in one sense everything, but I'm independent. I'm not under the modes of material nature, for they are, on the contrary, within me. And there's another verse I'd like to share with you that is similar to this. Prabhupada would quote sometimes, and I always found it very striking. And that is this one. Etad ishna vishasya prakatistopi tadgunai na yujjate salatmastaya yata buddhis talashraya. This is the divinity of the personality of Godhead. This Ishanam means the lordship, and Isha of the Isha, of the Lord. He's not affected by the qualities of material nature, modes of nature, even though he's in contact with them. Similarly, the devotees who have taken shelter of the Lord do not become influenced by the material qualities. So, these modes of nature are within him, just like it says in the Bhagavad Gita. I'm not in them, they're in me. In other words, they're under my control, and I'm completely aloof from them. So this is one measure of the controlling power of the Lord, that material energy is completely powerless to do anything to him, because it's his energy. But we are root, and we're separate from the Lord. When we separate ourselves artificially from his attitude, then we become under the control of the material energy. And we're absolutely convinced that we're part and parcel of the material energy. But he says that for those who take shelter of Krishna, their intelligence, buddhis, is also transcendental to the modes. And we learn that at the end of chapter 14. Mam chiyoga vichadena bhakti yogina sevate sarguna samvichayata brahma bhuyaya kalpate. So really our path out of this material energy through the process of vaidhi bhakti is to gradually disentangle our intelligence from material energy, to cease to identify ourselves with this body and everyone else with their bodies, and to relate on that platform, and to come to the point through undeviating devotional service of always remembering Krishna and dealing with this world as spiritual beings. In the 5th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada says the first stage of devotional service is to understand we're not this body, was pure spirit soul. But it has to go beyond that. That's not enough. That understanding alone will not allow you to extricate yourself from the material world, because you have to act on the basis of spirit. We have to know how to act on that realization. Otherwise, you fall into the trap of the impersonalists. Oh, I'm spirit, so let me just repress all of these central urges, the mental urges, intellectual things, and in this way, I'll realize that I'm pure spirit and I'll live on that platform. Aham Brahmasmi. But you can't, because by nature, we're not just spirit. Remember I gave you that analogy, how we also have our Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan features? Is it? So just to understand Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi, is no more secure than those impersonalists who get up to the Brahma platform by severe austerities, but they are averse to serving Krishna's lotus feet. And therefore it says their intelligence is impure. Because they're averse to serving Krishna, they're stuck in the impersonal realization. But that's not fulfilling for the soul. It's just like we can understand very easily by like the analogy of someone who gets so ill. Like I mentioned this maybe to you others, that back in 1969, I came down with a serious case of hepatitis. It wasn't Hep C, it was Hep A, but it was serious. I had to go to the hospital for a month. And during that hospital stay, I was just, hoping, okay, I hope this cure works and I hope I get better, like that. That's what you're thinking in the hospital. Because you're just out on your back. Suddenly all of your activities and whatever you try to enjoy is not there anymore. So how can I get back to normal? Down in the present state of a whole month. But then when I finally was cured, it wasn't that, oh, now I'm cured, let me just sit down and be cured. I went back to relating and doing so many things, right? Because that's our life. So the impersonal conception, because it's hospital is a place where people suffer, and hopefully some can come out of their suffering, right? So under levels of suffering, and in any given lifetime, those sufferings increase and they decrease like that. Those are dukkha, we know that, dukkha, shastra. So the person is thinking, okay, this is my goal, get free from suffering. And to become to the platform of never suffering again. That's the motivation. It's a negative one. It's fear. Fear of having a body and therefore undergoing birth, disease, and death. So that fear is the motivation. So with that fear, very few can practice severe austerities alone, speculation of Vedanta Sutra. You come to the I am spirit. I'm not going to engage in any of this sense activity. My thoughts are going to gradually stop, and I'll just be situated in Brahma. That's Nirvishesh, which Prabhupada saved us from, right? Nirvishesh Pascha Tarine, he saved us from that disaster. What the speaker of Shunyavad, I think you're nothing. At least the Brahmavadis think we're something. But the Shunyavadis, Buddhists, you weren't a Buddhist, were you? No, you're from Nepal. You're a Vaishnava. You grew up in a Vaishnava family. Somehow you look like a Buddhist monk. Same Tibet, same. So, but that's a disaster. That's even worse than the Brahmavadis. So either Shunyavad or Buddhist, they're disaster for the soul, because we can't live on that platform, and it's a big mistake. Throwing out the idea of having a body and senses and activities with the idea that you're spirit. So this is why we have this three level. We have our Brahman platform. We're all being about our body, right? So just like an ant or an insect, if it comes and it touches your feet, it has no idea you're a person. It just sees it as an obstacle. This is some big mountain sitting here, right? It doesn't know you're a person. So since that's pervading our whole body, it's impersonal from the point of view who just sees the body as a reacting entity, as not actually a whole person. There's no person. So then we have the Paramatma version that we're mobilized now. But really, our full identity is that yes, we're spirit souls, but we're persons with ideas, with likes and dislikes, and spiritual senses and everything, which is now covered. So covered by the modes of nature. Now, Krishna is, because the modes, it says Sadatmastaya, they're within Bhagavad Gita. The best line says, Keshu, I am not in. It's become Krishna conscious, because if we take Krishna with our mind, body, words, and everything, we become Krishna conscious. And that quality of being incidental to the modes will be protected. Krishna will release the influence of mind, modes of nature, come to the mode of goodness, and on that basis come to the mode of Vishuddha Sattva. And in Vishuddha Sattva, you don't feel the battering of this material world so much. This goes back to the former teaching of Prabhupada Kapila Dev, you may recall, I don't know if I shared it, the beginning of his instructions to the importance of Sangha, of Sadhu Sangha. And so one of the verses there describes Manashriyat Kritam Nishta Shunvanti Katiyanti Cha Tapanti Vivarastapa Nayamikata Chetasa. So he's describing the result of practicing serious devotion to him. And he's Maya Nani Bhavina. The same as Manchi Yoga Vicharina and deviating devotion. So what's the main activity of these devotees? Manashriyakatamishta, hearing and chanting the delightful vibrations describing me, such as the holy name and all this beautiful song, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Krishna. I'll tell you, it's worth studying. You probably already know it already, but I studied that song and just reading it. Oh, Jaya Radhe, I haven't sung it in a while, and you remember the different things in Vrindavan. You're there, right? Depending on how much absorbed you are. And it just takes you right out of this world. We're not worrying about, what's happening outside. You get it? So this is what Krishna means by become absorbed in the Marashriya Katam Nishta. That those delightful vibrations, it's very poetic, which have taken shelter of me. In other words, which relate to me. It's an unusual way of using Ashya, but that's what it means. Marashriya Katam Nishta. Shunvandi Katiyanti. Hearing and chanting. What's the result? One of the results is the Panti Vavadastapa Naitanmankata Chesasa. Because their consciousness is absorbed in me. Shri Radhamadava Hari Ki Jai, Shri Nata Gopal Ki Jai, Shri Gauranatai. The miseries of this world don't affect them so much. You don't feel them. The Panti Vavadastapa Naitan. The Panti means the sufferer, the tapa. The Panti Vavadastapa Naitanmankata Chesasa. There are Prabhupada in the lecture, he's given, it's just a question of the absorption of thought. And then he gave an example that you would never think of in a million years. Not a devotee, but a demon named Stalin. Have you heard of Stalin? Stalin was one of the most demonic leaders during the war, World War II. He was the Soviet leader, killed many people, but he was paranoid. Because he was always arresting people, tormenting them, sending them off to the Gulag in Siberia. Naturally, demons are always afraid. So he had to have an operation on his stomach. Prabhupada tells us this in a lecture. He had that operation on his belly. So the doctor offered to give him chloroform or something, put him to sleep so he wouldn't feel anything. Anesthesia. Said, no, that's okay. Because he was afraid if they put him to sleep, some of his enemies would come and kill him. He was totally paranoid. Basically, he said, I'll tough it out. Having an operation with no anesthesia. So Prabhupada said, it's a question of the absorption of the thought. In other words, he was so afraid, he would rather have that pain go on. So that's another example. But the point is that by becoming absorbed in Krishna, the material energy releases you from so much suffering. First of all, you're not, as I was explaining last night, when I like to quote, Yasmat Priyapi of the Yoga, Yoga, Janma Shokagana, the vile lamentation due to life in the world. Every species experiences it, but we experience it more because of our advanced intelligent consciousness. Just by being in this world, you get attachments. You get attachments to things, you get attachment to people, experiences, all kinds of stuff. And from the time you get attached to your mother's breast to the time you leave this body, there's all kinds of attachments. So, and if those attachments can be fulfilled by consumption. Okay, I'm attached to, I remember every kid needs a chocolate, and from childhood I'm making hot chocolate. I discovered Hershey's Kisses. They still have those little lumps of chocolate, you remember. And a million different things, because there's some addiction thing in it. There's a Prabhupada said we shouldn't be, as you wrote, we shouldn't eat chocolate. And there's a chemical, you won't believe what it's called. Anandamaya. Anandamai. Yes, they named it Anandamai because it gives you a high. Anyway, so, all right, so millions and millions of kids all over chocolate. You know, they like chocolate. So when your mother offers some hot chocolate, okay, I'll have some hot chocolate. And as soon as you have the hot chocolate, that increases the desire. It goes on like that. It can go on all throughout your life. I think I quit finally when I joined Hare Krishna. Okay, chocolate, no problem. Oh, we have carrot. That's a substitute. So the point is that those desires accumulate, and they are these famous knots in the heart that keep you bound here. Because without Krishna, what have you got? You've got a whole bunch of things that you desire, that you've experienced, you know, and then there's the lamentation. You can't enjoy them anymore. Now I have diabetes, I can't eat chocolate anymore. What good is life? You know? I mean, these are people are lamenting like that. And so now, but if you now, scientifically, if you can find out something that you can enjoy, that has no side effect, no bad side effect, and that becomes so pleasurable that you forget about all these insignificant pleasures, that's great. That would be great for your life, right? That's Krishna. That's Krishna consciousness. It's just a question of developing the taste. Developing the taste. And it obliterates the other taste. This is an instruction of Sanat Kumar to Maharaj Peter. He says that the Santas, who are the Santas? Who can guess? You know the Santas? It says Sanda. The hymn on Christmas time. They also celebrate. Santa Claus is another word for saints or devotees. Come on. So he says, so the saints, the devotees of Krishna, they enjoy a spiritual pleasure by serving his lotus toes. You know, only devotees can even think about something like that. But when you get into, you know, full service to the Lord, lotus feet, so pleasurable, he's saying, for the pure devotees, that that the actions for fruit of activity and fruit of desires and fulfillment, which are like knots in the heart, they're cut or they're untied. In other words, the desire is completely obliterated. Do we know this verse? Everyone respects it. He has a program. You know what chat stands for? Chanting a chapter a day. Chant a chapter of Bhagavad Gita a day. And it's worth just getting into it. That's what I did. You know, I'm no big genius or something, but I worked on these verses, and they're there. You want to make a point how you know, Krishna, perceiving Krishna, enables you to be renounced. This is the primary verse. Vishaya means the object of the senses. Vinivartante literally means they turn away from you. Vishaya vinivartante nidahavasadehina. For the embodied soul, if you don't consume them, in other words, you go on a fast, or you go to a fat farm, they call it a fat farm. Somebody's trying to lose weight. So you go to a place where they enforce the diet, you have to exercise, and you get peer pressure, and okay. Millions of women go for that, and a few men. So this is Vishayavana Vartante. The object of the senses aren't there anymore. The chocolate sundae isn't there. We have a nice whole salad for you. So, you know, you pay your money, you can leave. We're not in prison here, but you'll keep that fat and it'll still be ugly. So okay, I'm going to stay in the salad. So this is called Vishayavana Vartante Nidahala Siddhena. Consuming, literally not eating those vishayas, those objects of the senses that you're trying to give up. Okay. For the conditioned soul. But rasa bhajam, the taste remains deep in your heart. You still want to have the chocolate sundae and the cakes and all of the other stuff. It's temporarily out of not influencing you. You have a higher motivation to improve the way you look and your health. Okay, let's go. So the Bible uses rasa bhajam. But the rasa itself is also, the taste itself is also destroyed. Param Rishva. When you see, you directly experience the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then Nivartate, you don't return. This is the firm basis of Vairagya. Vairagya is an essential part of our practice. You know, at first it may be somewhat painful, even people just entering in the four regular principles. And there may be many people who join Hare Krishna, but they like Krishna, they like to read Krishna book, they chant Hare Krishna, but they can't do the four regular principles. They're not willing to undergo the really maturity of giving these things up on the strength of serious devotional service. So this is where we're at. We're addicted to these things. Our knowledge is covered. Our consciousness is covered. We're holding on to a certain place in the modes of nature because we're familiar to it, with it, and that's covering our knowledge. It can cover it from lifetimes after lifetimes. So we need to feel the urgency of progressing and developing that taste for Krishna consciousness by practicing nicely what Prabhupada has given us. Just think of the morning program, and I'm telling you, it's a whole. I thank Krishna and Lord Chaitanya and Srila Prabhupada and all the saints for giving me an opportunity to live for 2 years in an ashram, in the ashram in Brooklyn, and be trained in that. Coming to the programs on time, paying attention, applying the mind, being regulated in that way. It's so important because that unregulation, that up and down, that's mind's trick. It weakens you, your determination and your taste, and you get swept away by the modes of nature. So that regulation, everyone knows on the altar that you have to be, Krishna's right there. Yeah, we have to open the curtains. Come on. 5 minutes, 10 minutes late. It doesn't work like that, right? So that the altar is the heart of the temple, and that same regulation, that same strictness should pervade. So anyway, the transformation of the soul is dependent on us, how sincere we are. That whole path from Shraddha to Prema. So the third process is anartha nivritti. Those anarthas, or unwanted attachments and fears and doubts, they need to be cleansed away. That's the stage we're in. We're all in there to some degree, hopefully heading toward Nishtha and Ruchi, getting some taste. But that's our own desire, will, our own determination. How quickly we're going to pass through that stage and come to the point of not to be pleased. So we get so much encouragement here from Krishna in all his forms. Yeah. Okay. So let's go. Let me run this through this purport kind of quickly here. We're covered by the material energy. The Lord is the Father because he impregnates. Therefore, he keeps the body created by the material, whereas the Father of the living entity is aloof from the three modes. And the other aspect of the Father is a sincere Father. He doesn't forget his wayward sons and daughters. He's concerned. Krishna's love is unwavering. Ours is weak because we're infinitesimal. We've chosen to rebel. That means we've forgotten completely Krishna, our beloved Father, our beloved Master and friend, and we're trying to establish some facsimile of that relationship in this world, failing birth after birth. It's a tragic situation, but now we have the opportunity to turn back. So part of it is this whole creation, giving us another chance, and then there's the mystery here. He's accepted, stated previous verse, material energy is accepted by the Lord, so he might exhibit pastimes for the living entity to enjoy and lord it over. This world was created through material energy for the so-called enjoyment of the living. Why this material world was created for the sufferings of the condemned souls is a very intricate question. And this is a question many devotees have. The Lord is so powerful. He's almighty. Why does he put us through all this suffering? Why me? Is he really merciful? I'm a Christian. I chant my rounds most of the time, and following the principle pretty strictly. I mean, I'm not as strict as those really strict devotees in the hall, but I'm doing, why did this happen? Why did this happen? These kind of doubts are there because this is material energy covering our faith and bewildering us as to our real position in this world and what the purpose of it is. And that is, it's really, this word Durga, it's a prison house. We're here to be reformed. This is the purpose that Krishna has in mind. But also, it has to be a place where we can continue our rebelliousness if we want. Krishna is not going to force us. He's not going to drag us back to God and put us back in the spiritual world. Because the whole point is that the spiritual world is the place where everything is completely harmonious in service to Krishna. We read it from the Brahma Samhita, Shriya Kanta, Kanta, Padama. So there it says that Krishna is the one lover, and he's got all of these goddesses of fortunes as his lovers. Now we're also there. If we get envious of Krishna, he's got all the beautiful ladies. Immediately we come to this plane. You see? We are very happy that Krishna's there with all those ladies, and we try to facilitate his enjoyment. That's Krishna consciousness. And because we are part and parcel of Krishna, we enjoy and give him enjoyment. That's the revolution. That's the revolution mentality. Here, everyone is self-centered. Somehow, what's in it for me? And we say, well, okay, I'm practicing bhakti. I understand peace and joy, great. But why did I get this horrible disease? Why did my friend die? A million different things. That's not understanding. That's part of the purification process. So we know that this is not our place. This is not our home. That's the difficult. A son, rebellious, 17-year-old kid, doesn't want to do what his parents want. He's running off, drinking too much, whatever. And the parents, sometimes they take him and put him into a place, some semi-military, where he can get some discipline and get some sense into his head. They can't handle it. So this place is that place. Tough love. Krishna loves us, but it's tough love. Because we're so rebellious and nonsense, with millions of births, we refuse to serve him and try to, chew the chewed down here. So it requires some knocks. And we've had them. Either in this life, previous life, we know. But that doesn't mean we should reject Krishna and Krishna consciousness. We should accept our life. This is a very essential verse for keeping ourselves enthused in Krishna consciousness. Always seeing, expecting Krishna's mercy and see everything as his mercy. And when we suffer something, what does it say? The vipaka, the danger or the suffering, is the result of something I did. Previously, I forgot, but I've done it. I rebelled against Krishna, and that's one thing, but all of the other things, this is a result of that. So I'm not going to blame Krishna. Rather, I thank him for minimizing it. It can always be worse. So minimize it. And when good things happen to us, we find ourselves in good health or facility, that, so kind, he's given me more facility to serve. Now, just think about this a minute. These two attitudes means that you never have a negative attitude toward Krishna. In both cases, it's positive. And therefore, this is the kind of attitude, if you maintain it, that ensures your passage back to Godhead. That's what this verse is about. But it means that we have to learn how to take pleasure in serving Krishna. There's a nice little phrase. Let's see if I can remember it. From one of his Sandarbhas, Prabhupada quotes it in the second canto purport. And it so much encapsulates the science of Krishna consciousness and how we can become enlightened. It says, Padapurusha, Sasukatvam, Bhajaniya Paramapurusha, Sukha Swasya Swasukatvam, which means, sorry, I may be missing one or two words, that bhakti means, in essence, to always be worshipping the Supreme Person, Paramapurusha, and to take one's pleasure only in his pleasure. To see if he's happy, then that's your happiness, nothing else. This is the ideal of Radharani. This is the ideal. This is why the gopis, there's no tinge of lust, because their entire being is focused on giving Krishna. How can there be so many mandaris and sakis and everything, being so blissful to see Radha and Krishna together? They're not jealous. They're happy that, so happy that their master Krishna is so pleased and Radharani is so pleased. That's it. There's a nice verse. You can have it. I'll give it to you from the Govinda Lilamrita. It says, Lilita says this. I don't think any of you know this verse. It says, Radha Kanchana Balli Pulla, Krishna Pulla Tatincha. Anayo Sangama Lakshmi Supriyatim becomes a Chaitanam Lokam. That's kind of a paramita. Srimati Radharani is just like a golden creeper. And Krishna is a golden, fully blossoming creeper. And Krishna is just like a fully blossoming tamal tree. Who is that sentient person who seeing how beautiful, who would not appreciate how beautiful they look together? Anayor Sangama Lakshmi literally means how beautiful, the beauty of them together. Who would not take great happiness in seeing him? What person who has consciousness would not take happiness seeing how beautiful they are? So if we could just be so pleased, and join together, how they're so mercifully inviting us to join in a pleasure dance, come. That's bhakti. Can you be satisfied for eternity making the chandan that will then go on Radha Krishna's face? Well, I may be able to be satisfied for a little while, but that's all I have to do. The point is that that's your role. Maybe that's our role, and your consciousness is fully conscious of Krishna and Radha's pastimes and their pleasure, and you're contributing to it. You're contributing to it. Just like a devotee joins the temple. I remember when I joined the temple back in Brooklyn. So it was my first job. Yes, taking out the trash. Now I was already ready for it. I was just chanting away and holding out the trash. And my Bhakta leader actually wasn't even initiated. Bhakta Ben later became initiated as the temple commander. And he said, Bhakta, I think you're going to make it because you're enjoying this taking out the trash so much. Because it's, I could be taking out the trash and earning, in those days, $2 an hour was a good wage. To a million different places, but I would have been miserable, But taking out Krishna's trash for nothing, no pay except no prasadam, that was blissful, because it's for Krishna. And just being conscious of Krishna, and being conscious of Krishna, being conscious of your service, that's even for a neophyte. I just joined the temple. You can see the different kind of experience. But if we could fall into the material mentality, it's like, why? Why don't I have more facility? This and that. No, but we've been given the spiritual world. Just if we learn to really relish those things which we can always consume, meaning the holy name, then we got it. That's the thing. We're looking outside. We have to look inside. So I've gone over time. Any questions, comments on this? So, brother, there's no necessity to create this material world for the suffering, but at the same time, there are certain living entities known as Nitya Bhada who are eternally conditioned. And so there is a necessary, just like there's a necessity for a prison, because there's going to be certain rebellious souls who don't want to cause disturbance in society, so they take out of it. It can become corrupted, so like it is today, but that's the basic reason. So we're here, and Krishna doesn't want us to be here. He gives us all the facility to get out, but we have to follow the program. Just like if someone is really rehabilitated, a good prisoner, then he can get parole and get out earlier, and then they watch you, make sure you stay right. So and we should take advantage of it. Okay, any questions, comments? Yes.
Is there anything like that? Once upon a time is no material world, only spiritual world?
Yeah, of course. Krishna says in the first of the essential verses of the Bhagavatam, 29:33, I think. Ahameva sameva agri, nanyajat sarasatparam, pashtadaham niritacha, yovishasheta sosmyam. It says, before there was any manifestation.
Second canto.
Second canto. Yeah, 2:9:33. Something this is the first of the chapter shlokas. Yeah, before there was anything manifestation, I existed. And because I existed, it means the whole spiritual world exists. And when there is a manifestation, and we're studying how it happens here, it's still only I who exist. my energies and expansions. And when it's all wound up again, I will continue to be there as Shesha, what remains. So this material energy, sometimes it exists only in dormant form. The material energy is also eternal, but not in the manifested form. Krishna has it within, and it's not manifested. Only the spiritual energy is eternally manifested, meaning all the Goloka Vrindavan, all the Vaikuntha planets. So the material world is temporary, just like anything material has a beginning and development and stage, eventually disappears. So this material energy is a periodic chance for us, conditioned souls, to gain or revive our Krishna consciousness and then get out of it and be in the place where not a second passes away. There's no future, no past. That famous verse at the end of the Brahma Samhita. So sure, but there's no point in which the material world is finished and it's not going to manifest again. It's always reawakening because there's always souls who are rebellious and conditioned souls who need reformation. That's just the nature of it. But for us, it can come to an end. That's the point. We don't have to keep coming back to more and more material bodies.
My question is another thing, because I'm pointing this out, and here saying for Leelaya, for his, he wants to Leela, that's why he created the material world. That means we are the instrument of his Leela, then and why we are worried? Either we are in the suffering or we are in the liberated. There is no matter.
Yeah. If we're fully conscious, fully Krishna conscious, then it doesn't matter if you're a pure devotee. It doesn't matter if you're in the material world or so-called material world or the spiritual world.
Without devotee also, why they are worried?
No, because that's the whole point is you're covered. Yeah. It's just like a dream, Why am I in this nightmare? Well, because you're sleeping, you gotta wake up. It's a pertinent verse for this. Artehi vidyamane samsati nanavarte jayatu vijyan pumsa jayatu shiyam asya swapne nartagamoyita. That although this material energy is ultimately unreal, the sufferings caused by the material energy for the living entity will continue, but those who are absorbed in sense gratification, just as the sufferings in a nightmare continue until you wake up. It's just waking up. So we can't just by some logical trick think that we're going to end this material involvement. We really go through the stages of waking up, and then it doesn't matter. Ultimately, it doesn't matter. The great devotees say, whether in heaven and hell or wherever it is, if I can serve you, I'll be fully satisfied. Place me anywhere you want. If you want to keep me in this material world to preach, I'll do that. Because the orientation is it that pleases the Lord most. And if Krishna wants to welcome you back in the spiritual world and give you a big hug, you'll take that too. Yeah. So it's a question of consciousness, Prabhu. The suffering is the same as the suffering in a nightmare, but it's very real to those who are experiencing it. But if one wakes up and you say, "Oh, that was just a dream. I'll never do that again," to fall into that illusion. Anyway, we can discuss that because it's late anyway.
Another small question, Prabhu. Durga Devi is Durga. She is the leading of three modes of natural thing. And then what is there any harm to pray her to just remove your?
That's not our job.
This is the Durga time. That's why I'm asking.
You can pray to the what do they call it? The prison head, to relieve you, to release you. But that's not his job. If he does that, that's illegal. He's not in charge. The judge has to do that. You have to pray to the right person. So she's now in her aspect as a prison warden, her duty is to punish you, the three tridents. But she's working for the boss, it's Krishna. That's why he said, you can't get out of this material energy composed of the three modes of Durga on your own. That's not the proper way of getting it. But if you surrender to me, then I just order her to let you go. And she's very happy to let you go. Because she is ultimately a devotee. She has the thankless task, material energy, of keeping us bound and punishing us and giving us the threefold miseries. But she'd much rather let us go. So in her aspect as Yogamaya, you know, Yogamaya and Mahamaya are really the same person, but in different aspects. She will help us remember Krishna. She provides all of this paraphernalia. She provides our very bodies, you know, and if we want to use, you know, she becomes the agent of our devotional service.
Same person?
Same person. The material energy. You know?
Yogamaya.
Yogamaya, yes.
Yogamaya and Mayamaya, you are saying same person?
Yes. They're the same person, but in different aspects. Mahamaya is an extension of Yogamaya. In her feature as Yogamaya, in Goloka Vrindavan, she doesn't cover Krishna, but she covers his majestic aspect so we can have intimate relations, right? But in an aspect of Mahamaya, she actually covers Krishna, so we can't see and relate to the experience. I can show you after verse. All those two problems. Like a policeman. He's got the stick, he's got the gun, he's got the uniform on the street. When he comes home, he takes that off and just plays with his kid. The same person, but he acts differently. Hey, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Can I give you a little bag of? I keep forgetting time is actually 8:15. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. That's fine. So, for us, it's good. Yeah.
Hare Krishna.